He already said it.
Oh, I didn't know.
I'm
sorry. Yeah, we're talking about doing other stuff. Let's go ahead and call tonight's meeting to order. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We've got a lot of business to go over tonight, so it's going to be a bit of a lengthy meeting, but we'll try to get through it best we can. And I've been asked to slow down a little bit because apparently I get a little too fast. So I am going to try to slow my roll a bit. So I'm looking for a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
I motion to approve the agenda as presented.
A second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Another little bit of business. Evan told me about the microphones a little bit. If you kind of want to point them at you like this, if you don't want to talk, the other thing you can do is point them away. But don't point them at the ceiling because we get mic reverb. So that was the naughty thing to, yeah, there we go. Okay. That way everybody can hear us. All right, let's go ahead and move, please, to staff and student recognition. Mr. Schmidt.
Thank you, Board Chair. Tonight we have the opportunity to recognize some great students and programs from both South Albany High School and West Albany High School. First up is South Albany. In an effort to recognize students and staff who achieve excellence in school activities and academic programs, tonight we have the opportunity to acknowledge South Albany High School's women track and field athletes who competed at the 5A State Track and Field Championship meet. Principal Angel could not make it this evening, so head track and field coach Jeff Luber will be recognizing these athletes.
Go ahead and come on up. I'm very proud and blessed to be able to coach these individuals. And these individuals that you're looking at here, only 4 strong, but still were able to take home the 3rd place trophy at the most recent OSAA state track meet for 5A. If we have enough time, I'd like to introduce each of them and have them tell you what events they participated in.
My name is Fairlyn Dixon, and I did the 100, 200, 400, and the 4x1.
My name is Bree Walder, and I ran in the 4x1.
My name is Karis Reitman. I ran the 100, 200, and 4x1.
My name is Lydia Reitman. I did the 4x1 and triple jump.
So these 4 ladies were part of the first place state the 4x1 team. Karis, she got 2nd place in the 100, 2nd place in the 200, and Farah was 1st place in the 100, 1st place in the 200, 1st place in the 400. Now, something about Farah is that she has tied for all time with the #1 medals in OSAA history. So she is not just amazing. Absolute legend, and she's going to be heading off to run track at San Diego State next year.
Yeah.
Hey, we're going to get a picture. No, you're fine.
Congratulations.
No, I'm going to talk to the proud dad.
A little different than the basketball team.
They're going to have to do it all over again.
We will start right now.
Next, in an effort to recognize students and staff who achieve excellence in school activities and academic programs, tonight we have the opportunity to acknowledge South Albany High School's Ascent Choir performers who competed at the 5A State Choir Championship Festival. As I said earlier, Principal Angel is unavailable, and unfortunately, Director Brett DeYoung is in the last bit of planning for his daughter's wedding this upcoming weekend and is unable to attend. So I'll have the opportunity to share a few of the details. On May 8th, 2026, South Albany High School Ascend Choir competed in the state choir competition under the direction of Brett DeYoung. The choir placed fourth with a combined score of 289 points and the highest sight reading score of any school in the top 6, which is super impressive. Sight reading is those students go in, they've not seen any of the music, it's handed to them, and then they have to perform. It's the true mark of musicianship when you can score that high. And the choir's done an amazing job. I had the opportunity to see them perform at West Albany High School in the league competition, and they sounded just fantastic. An amazing performance, and I do want to recognize those choir performers that are here tonight.
Here we go.
I think
They're all
we
in the relay. It's all goes to Wes and just kind of different.
clip by school and then by.
This isn't what you want to get these to them. Yeah, that's what I do this thing.
Okay, but this is all west. That's what I'm saying is the south stack has the other. Nice job.
Okay, now we have one of those little quirks. We're going to go into a budget meeting.
We still
here.
have West Albany High
Oh,
School.
so, I'm sorry. I thought you were there. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right. Next, we get to recognize a few programs from West Albany High School. In an effort to recognize students and staff who achieve excellence in school activities and academic programs, tonight we have the opportunity to acknowledge West Albany High School's women's track and field athletes who competed at the 5A State Track and Field Championship meet. Principal Rich Engel is here to recognize these athletes.
Do you want me to just go through? Yeah. Okay.
She's ready.
Thanks for having us here. We had two amazing athletes that competed at the state level, 4 actually, but 2 that placed. We had senior Nenkai Malel that finished 2nd in the discus to end her high school career, and Ashley Gibb, freshman, that placed 3rd in the pole vault. So congratulations.
What's your height? How high did you clear?
I cleared 11 point something something.
Glad you have that written down.
Next, tonight we have the opportunity to acknowledge West Albany High School's wind ensemble. Oh, sorry. Oh, picture. Sorry.
Take
More time.
Sorry, getting ahead of myself here.
It's okay. I did too.
I was just there.
All right, I think I can go now. We also have the opportunity to acknowledge West Albany High School's wind ensemble and jazz band performers who competed at the 5A State Championship Festivals. Principal Rich Engel is here to share the details for these 2 ensembles.
So it's almost like this is the first real week of summer. There's not many here. Anybody from, come on up, Cole. Anybody else? I think it is just you. Come on up, Cole. So actually going to acknowledge Cole in a couple of different places here. So our wind ensemble led by directors Brian McFadden and Stuart Welsh. To be honest, going into the competition, they were a little bit worried. Fair? They weren't exactly sure how the performance was going to go, and they knocked it out of the park and won the state title. I believe that is their 5th state title, is the wind ensemble. The week before, actually the day of prom, the Jazz won, competed at the state level, and they won the state title as well. Cole happens to be a member of both of those groups, and is a member of the first place state chamber ensemble for trumpets. Cole Hansen is the representative of that as well. Congratulations.
Wow.
Cole, you're a trumpet player? How many people were in your ensemble group for the small group? 5? Nice. What did you play? That's okay. I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
Play whatever.
Nice.
Is that it?
Is Hadley here? Yeah, come on up. And then our final acknowledgement today, Hadley Roughton, first place in the state solo ensemble in the mezzo-soprano division. And according to her amazing director, Ms. Caffarella, that is the most difficult area in order to win, because there are so many competitors. And if you've ever heard Hadley sing, you will be blown away. She is amazing. Congratulations. Come up here and steps.
It wasn't me.
I forgot about that.
Better not to set their chairs up. Everybody gets a little exercise this summer.
It's okay.
You know, it's good for you. Get your heart rate up and whatnot.
Okay, now it's time for that little quirk to go into a budget hearing meeting. And as per ORS 294.453, the governing body must hold a budget hearing on the date specified in the public notice to receive citizens' testimony on the budget. Ms. Jane, I believe you take over from here.
Okay. How do I turn this on? Chris did it for me. Thank you. So tonight I'm asking you to adopt the budget that the Budget Committee had approved with one change. After the approval of the budget by the Budget Committee, we received information from the Oregon Department of Education that they had approved our grant application for the PCB cleaning of our buildings or testing of our buildings. And that was 1.358 million. So that was added to our special revenue fund and increased that fund in total by 1,358,000 and increased the total budget. So that's the only change that is being brought to you tonight after the approval of the budget. And so when you look at the appropriations resolution that you will approve, it is exactly as the Budget Committee approved, except for that one change.
Can you go back one slide? Thank you. So how much was the PCB testing grant?
So this would be the maximum of the testing
Oh, I
that
see.
was
So we don't
awarded
know
to
yet,
us.
but that
And-
would be the most it would be.
Yes,
Okay.
and it may be changed slightly because we had asked for an indirect, which We have an approved indirect rating from the Oregon Department of Education, but not all grants allow it, so we always try. And they will reduce the grant by the amount of that indirect.
Any questions for Jane on the budget? Okay.
If not, we go to questions from the board. And if there are none,
No questions from the board? Last chance, last bite at the apple. Okay, I think we'll go to public comments. And I believe we have two, is that correct, Chris, on this list? Those are for?
That's for
the-
budget,
For budget, okay, great, make sure we get the right list. And so first up is Megan Oliver.
Hello. Do I have to stand really close to this?
It helps, yeah, and you can kind of
down.
bend it a little bit and point it at you, that works great.
Okay, I'm curious. Well, I have a couple segments for specifically North Albany Elementary, but I did want to ask what the percentage of the district's budget shortfall is due to the enrollment decline versus the rising costs of, well, everything.
so I think I can answer that for you. When we first started putting all of the revenue and the expenses together, we were at a $10 million deficit. So $5 million was due to a decline in enrollment, and the rest mainly was increases. And so we did receive additional funding from other manners. We received grants. We were able to cut expenses down to $4 million. That was the final cut that we had to make.
Which basically encompasses all the teacher cuts and blending of classrooms in all the schools.
It was a process. We met with our administrators. We have an admin team, and we spent several meetings working through the cuts that we would make. And so it was programs, grants, or not grants, but contracts and FTE.
Okay, then what alternatives were considered before you started reducing positions?
We looked at everything. We went through the budget line by line to get down from the 10 million.
That's one of the things with this process is the FTE is such a large portion of the school district's budget that it might bear a bigger brunt of the cuts because of the costs of the district or the costs of the district. I believe it's 12% I think it's 82%, 87%.
82.
Okay, mid 80s, 82% exactly is what FTE is. The remainder of that, so that's 18% is operations. So that's why if there's cuts, that's kind of the only place you can cut from, because unless you want to not repair a school roof,
Right, or have maintenance.
Yeah.
So then is the further 18% going to go into the required training that teachers have to receive for something like blending classrooms?
my understanding is that 18% runs everything else besides what people are paid and their salaries and their benefits. So your answer, I believe, would be yes.
Okay. All right, thank you. I'll talk to you guys later.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Sarah Ramos.
Hello. Okay, I have two questions, but I guess a little bit of a backstory. I frequently public the community pool, and there was a recent time when they shut the pool down with a sign that said, "The school district is replacing our light fixtures at the pool area." So my question is twofold. How much money was extracted from our child's education to fund the rather beautiful lights? They are very gorgeous. And why? I was not able to find it in the budget anywhere.
Do you want to take that one? So we use a grant for the light replacement. It's an energy. We get credits for light fixtures, so we utilize that budget. So it's very minimal expense. I believe, Jane, it's at 10%.
It varies. It depends on the energy efficiency. He's referring to SB 1149. If you see on your power bill a surcharge, that comes back to school district for energy conservation projects. And so we're able to utilize those funds for projects like replacing lights.
Awesome. And why wasn't this money funneled into the school district buildings?
It's very limited by the nature of its creation from the power bills.
I see.
We can only use it for approved.
You own the community pool building?
Yeah.
Yes. And the grant that they're talking about is one of those single item grants. So if it's, the funds are allocated for that, they can only be spent on that. So it can't be used on any other resources.
Okay.
So that's why the funds that go into that, they come from a specific source. They just sit in that grant fund. And whenever they are able to upgrade things that fit within that narrow window, then they can just use those funds for that specific purpose instead of taking them from somewhere else.
Oh, definitely understand that. My concern is, as a parent of NAY, I know that they're seriously considering closing NAY due to the significant amount of maintenance charges on the very old building. So why would you choose to allocate those funds into a community pool as opposed to into NAY, where you're considering closing down?
I think there's a lot of high priorities around the district as far as lighting goes. These lights were installed in 2006, so there was energy gains by replacing these lights. There's also a request of the people going to the pool that this was a pretty dark space for us, so that's why that decision was made. So we have a lot of high needs, but this was one of the higher ones as well.
All right, thank you.
Okay, we now have, there's no more public comment, there was only two. And we now move to a series of 6 different motions that start with E4, the Budget Appropriation Resolution.
Yes, this is a resolution pertaining to the current year budget, 25-26. And I am asking just a small change to the General Fund 2000 appropriation and the food service program. And as I look at those, we are currently within appropriation, but there are some expenses for both that could take us very close. So this is to ensure that we stay compliant with budget law.
So we're seeking a motion.
If you want to, we can go through them all and you can do all the motions at once. I think there's 5 or 6.
There's 6, yeah, if you want to do it that way, that's fine, we can, absolutely. Or we can do them one at a time.
I don't
Either
care.
way.
You're the chair.
True. Let's do them one at a time.
Okay.
So I'm seeking a motion.
I'll move to approve the 2025-2026 budget appropriation resolution as presented.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, let's move next to the budget. Is it comparison? Yes.
Yes. This is a new Government Accounting Standards Board 103 resolution, and it's new to us this year for the 25-26 audit. And GASB is asking that districts declare what is a significant variance between the original budget adopted and then the final budget. So that change you just made for me for 25-26 is not significant, but it is a change. And they're also asking that actual expenditures be compared to budget, and any variance that is significant must be explained by the district and included in the audit. So that is what this GASB resolution is about, just being more transparent if there are variances in your expenditures and in your budget. And so Glenn Kearns, our auditor from Acuity, met with us last week and asked us to pass this resolution so he would know what was considered a significant variance. And so this resolution establishes for our auditor what we will follow as significant variances in those 2 areas.
So it looks like what we've set up there, if it's 10%, if the number comes in 10% different or $100,000, and $100,000.
That's correct.
Okay, so it's not an either or, it has to be both?
Has to be both.
Okay, and I'm sorry, the state didn't set up any sort of criteria, we had to get our own?
That's correct. But 10% is budget law. If you increase appropriation greater than 10%, is a different level. You have to go back to the budget committee. So that's why we chose 10%. I talked with other business managers, what they were doing, and this is what most of them that I talked with were doing.
Okay.
So this basically just simplifies the audit process, so the audit company can come back to us and say, these are the significant changes that we saw, instead of just every single change.
Correct.
Any other discussion? Seeking a motion on this?
I'll move to approve the 2025-2026 GASB 103 budgetary comparison resolution as presented.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, next is the budget resolution.
This is the resolution that is required for you to adopt the budget and give us our expenditure authority for 26-27.
It looks so simple on one sheet.
Yeah, except it's, you know,
Not
all of this in
I'm
small
aware,
print.
just the one sheet in here is misleading.
It is. Yeah, it's a binder full. Any questions or discussion at this point? Okay, we need a motion on this, please.
I move that we accept the 2026-27 budget resolution.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Moving on to.
Brad.
Oh, sorry.
If you could also approve the tax collection rate at the bottom as part of the appropriation.
I missed that one.
Is that not on?
I didn't,
It's on the bottom of the resolution.
it's not on your motions.
It's not one of our motions, but we can,
Read the resolution, will that suffice? And then say we vote on that as well?
Yes.
Okay. So I move that the resolution, in the following words, be it resolved that the taxes imposed are hereby categorized for the purposes of Article 11, Section 1, or 11B as, do we need, does it have the actual percentage that we need to know, or?
No, that would work.
Okay.
looking for a second.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion on that? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Sorry about that, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for keeping us honest, Jane. Next, we move to the 2026-27 GASB fund balance.
This is a resolution, again, that is required through the Government Accounting Standard Board, and it just declares what the fund balance's level of restriction are. For example, the general fund is not restricted. The 200 special revenue fund is restricted according to the grants, so it can only be used for the requirements of the grants. And like the debt service is only for debt service. This has not changed from the last 4 years that I've been here.
Okay. Seeking a motion on this?
I move that we pass the GASB 54 resolution, 2026-27.
Fund balance.
Fund balance.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, 4 of the 6 down. Moving next to organizational resolutions.
Yes, this is a resolution that we need every year. It gives signature authority to us, designates our attorneys, our auditors, all of the necessary information for us to run the district is a component of this organizational resolution.
Move that we approve the 2026-27 organizational resolution.
I second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, last but not least, insurance renewals.
Yes, lastly is our PACE insurance and our PACE workers' compensation. And
It's okay, come on in.
in summary, the total premium cost for this year is $2,156,000. $6,982. And so this increase this year is about 9.5%. And last year, if you remember, it was 18%. So the value of property isn't increasing as much. And so even though it's a lot of money and a large increase, it is better than last year. And the things that make it increase, you know, it's the rising property values. And remember, this just isn't Albany School District, it isn't Oregon, it's nationwide. And so catastrophic events, everything impacts the remarket insurance. And so that creates our increase. And then our workers' comp was only about 5%. And that, again, was lower than last year. And I was looking at the components that make up that decrease. Between 23 and 24, we had a reduction in our total value of claims and a decrease in the number of workers' comp claims filed. So that helped us out. And we also, Julie, our safety and security officer, works really hard to get our people back to work, and that saves us money on lost time expense. So all of those pieces together helped reduce our workers' comp increase. And then there's one more thing that I wanted to share with you that I learned when I met with our insurance agent. PACE had experienced losses related to failure of aging engineered roof trusses. And they had 2 school districts where gym roofs collapsed and cost them a lot of money. So as a result, they have implemented new inspection and reporting requirements for covered properties. And they are giving us a grace period of 3 years and to conduct inspections and report to them. So any trust in a building that's more than 50 years old and exceeds 45 feet in length, they will continue to cover as long as we comply with our reporting requirements, which we will do. So during 26-27, we just have to have someone like Dave or his staff look at all of our buildings and see if we have any that fall in that category. And we report the names of those to PACE, our insurance. Then we have 2 years to follow up and have a certified inspector inspect all of those. And then we report that to PACE. And then we establish an ongoing inspection plan to continue to receive coverage. And so it is a change, and so I thought that I should report that to you also.
Jane, will they require, once we're into the flow of this, yearly inspections, or will it be biannual, or do we know yet?
They haven't declared that.
All right, just curious.
They're just saying that we maintain a schedule of inspections, so they haven't provided clarity on what that means.
So we do have quite a few old buildings. Do we have a rough idea of how many? And because we're looking at a lot of repairs with the long range committee, and that's not redoing roof trusses is not a cheap endeavor. Is that? Do we have any idea of where we're at?
I'll have to do it.
Okay.
We'll do an inventory and we'll let you know on upcoming report.
Gotcha.
That'd be great, thanks.
That's a lot.
That's why we need more surprises.
Yeah, for sure, at least.
So we're seeking a motion, are we all?
We're done.
Okay, seeking a motion on insurance renewals.
I move that we approve the insurance renewals. Oh, for 2026, 27?
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Yeah.
Please, go ahead.
Director Wilson, may I please interrupt?
Absolutely.
We have the pleasure of Nenkai Malel got here. She was unable to be here right when she was recognized. She is the athlete from West Albany High School, the track athlete who took second place in discus. And I would really appreciate if we could get you all in a picture together.
That would be marvelous.
Thank you so much. She's a really great kid, too.
No, it's great.
Not at all. Job.
And out.
Smart.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay, now we're going to discuss some changes to the board meeting calendar. There's a September date that's not going to work, and so we're going to want to move that if it's okay with the board. And what we would do is move the regular board meeting to September 14th, so a week earlier than it was scheduled for September 21st. So it'd be moved to the 14th. We would then also move the pre-planning meeting to September 17th from the 25th. And there's some updated graduation dates due to the late Labor Day holiday that pushes school year out at the end of the year. So it's just kind of some procedural things, but because we had already passed the school calendar, it takes a board vote to amend that. So do we have any questions or discussion on that?
Yeah.
Seeking a motion?
Move that we approve the change to the 2026-27 meeting calendar for the board.
I will second that motion.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, now we're going to discuss the, let me get down here, the public comment process. So we had a situation last board meeting where we had an executive session that followed, and we had a lot of interest in speaking. We had a 15-minute window. And so it became apparent, when we didn't have time, we were here till 10 o'clock at night, so expanding that particular meeting was going to be difficult. But we want to take a peek at those procedures. I made some notes here. I got to track them down. All right, where'd they go? There, oh, they're right here. Here you go. The other side of this paper. So we want to discuss, you know, how do we accommodate larger crowds when we have them? Oftentimes we'll have public comment with no one here or one or two people, and so the 15 minutes has worked. Last meeting was the first time we had had a situation where there were more people wanting to speak and more topics than we had the time to cover. So I would like the board members to consider things that we can discuss in the next August meeting on how to maybe change and adjust our time for in-person comment. You know, some of the questions that we might want to ask is, how do we prioritize? Who gets to speak first and who does? Because sometimes it's been the first person in because it hasn't been, there haven't been enough speakers to fill the time. So if we have a situation where we have more, then we want to talk about, well, okay, how are we going to prioritize that? And who should speak first, and how will we go down through the order? And we currently have it set to 15 minutes. I'm assuming that we could talk about how to make the time longer, but then also how much longer. So some thoughts to consider when we come back and discuss more in August. You know, do we segregate it or order it by the topics that are presented? For example, the last meeting, I believe there were 8 different topics, and we were able to accept 5 because with the time constraint. And if you have multiple speakers on the same topic, but not enough time to cover it all, how do you then get all the topics in? Go ahead. Yeah, this is just a discussion. We're not going to make any decisions yet, but we're
Not
just.
specifically about that, but I wonder about how the running of the meeting and whether the people who are speaking at the general meeting are aware, do they have a time limit? You say, we're going to give you 20 minutes to do this, 15 minutes to do that.
Yeah, it's.
Because it seems like sometimes that runs a little long, and that cuts into time available.
Well, we set aside 15 minutes is what's in the calendar currently, and with each speaker getting 3 minutes maximum. It could be, and we could also talk about limiting the time to get more people in, depending upon how many people want to speak with the time we have available. So these are things that I'd like you to consider and bring back in August, so we can have a more in-depth discussion. Does that makes sense. So I wanted to let people know that we weren't unaware of the problems that happened, and we wanted to address them. And we want to take a look at how we can get more public input. I mean, tonight we just had a listening session. It was wonderful. We spent an hour chatting with people, and we only had 4 people on the list, but we were able to add some more people because we had the time. And so we balance that with the fact that we'd all like to get home before midnight, and so how much time should we invest in that and to get the information we need to be able to make good decisions as a board? So I just wanted to kind of bring that up. Is there any other questions on that? So that'll come back in August as a discussion with the hopes of trying to get some things narrowed down, or we could maybe possibly ask 2 people to go propose a new way of doing in public meetings or public comment. Okay, next we're going to move to the superintendent evaluation. We created a summary. Myself and Chris McLaughlin were involved in kind of setting up the summary. And I'm missing part of this. I thought I had it all. Yeah, the last paragraph's on here. Let's see if it's on here. Yep, I'll get the board book. Bear with me. Technical difficulty. I'm more of a paper guy than I am a computer guy, so. All right, so we ranked the superintendent on a scoring scale with 6 being exemplary and 1 is ineffective. So the higher the number, the better he did. There were 3 superintendent goals that were set at the beginning of the year. Goal 1 was an instructional framework, CEL. And help me with what CEL stands for again.
Center for Educational Leadership.
Center for Educational Leadership. Thank you, Mr. Gardner. And on that one, it scored a 5 to 6. And that means that the low was a 5 and the high was a 6. The second goal was a long-range facility advisory committee. Across the board, 6s on that one. And goal 3, comprehensive communication plan, scored 4 to 5. On the educational leadership standards outlined in policy CBG, visionary leadership scored a 4 to 5, instructional improvement 4 to 5, effective management a 4 to 5, inclusive practice 4 to 6, ethical leadership, scored 5 to 6, socio-political context 4 to 6. And to be fair, some of those questions are a little bit janky. My turn. So Chris and I spent a lot of time summarizing the superintendent's strengths, and I'll go ahead and read that to you. We probably spent a couple, 3 hours.
Lots of back and forth.
Lots of back and forth, lots of discussion, multiple meetings. So we spent some significant time on this. And this is what we arrived at. Andy has shown successful leadership in the areas of communication, planning, financial management, and improving instruction to maximize student learning. His steady, thoughtful, approachable style has helped the district through difficulties and allowed him to stabilize tricky situations. Andy is particularly effective because he gathers people with exemplary skills, the district office team and the long-range facility planning group, for example, to devote time and focus to problem solving. Andy's skill in managing the district's budget and finances has earned him respect throughout the district and the community. Critically, his vision for improving instruction has led to district-wide use of CEL and improvement in district instruction alignment. Andy's leadership has resulted in improved district function and a vast improvement in district function and morale. Do we have any thoughts, comments, or questions at this point on that? None. Sure. Help me out a little bit.
Well, there was a survey.
Oh, that's correct. Yeah, how we kind of got to all of this. There was a survey sent to all of the district staff who commented on on
Administrators.
administrators, thank you, not staff, administrators, thank you, keep me straight here. And of the ones sent out, I think there was 32 that came back? Something like that?
21.
21, my apologies. So hopefully in the future, we'll get more of those because we actually read every single one. It was part of our process, and it really helps us to know what's going out on and into the field and the people who work with Andy and what's going on. So in the future, if you're one of the people who gets one of these, they are read, and we'd love to see it.
Yep. Just wanted you to know that we didn't just make this up to pull it out of a hat.
Thank you. It takes a village. Keep me honest.
Do we need a motion on that one?
Mr. Chair.
Hang on just a second, I'm getting there.
F3.
Yep, F3. So we are seeking a motion on the superintendent's evaluation.
I move that we approve the superintendent's evaluation.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Evaluation is accepted. Okay, next is superintendent contract extension. This extension extends the contract 1 year from the previous contract to end June 30th, 2029. So it's a 1-year extension. It updates to dates in the dates in the language, updated PERS language to current practice for the district to pay employer and employee contribution. Also updated TSA to 2025-26 amount in lieu of a yearly 4% salary increase. That was approved with the previous contract. And Andy takes amount in a TSA increase. And TSA, I believe, is a tax savings account. Is that what that stands for?
Something like that.
I think that's right.
Tax sheltered annuity.
Oh, it was close. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, are there any questions? Oh, and in board book was both last year's contract and the proposed changes. So if anybody wants to see those and compare those, they are there to be seen. And at this point in time, if there's not any other discussion, we're seeking a motion.
I'll move to approve superintendent contract extension as presented.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay.
Here,
What's that?
discuss the policy update.
Oh, thank you. See, this is why it takes a village. So we have a situation where the superintendent's compensation is not, there's a policy on it, it's a little outdated, and we need to really take a look at it. It's not being looked at on a regular basis, and I think the language needs to be upgraded. So I'd like to see us bring that policy for discussion in August or September. I think September. Yeah, in September. So just going to let you know that that's coming. We need to make some updates in that. Is that about it? Or is there more? Go ahead, help me out.
Do you want to clarify what the policy is about?
Yes, I do. Of course I do. Thank you. So the policy is CBD, Superintendent Compensation and Benefits. And so the policy states the compensation and benefits for the position of the superintendent will be determined by the board based upon the experience of and the responsibilities required of the superintendent in performing duties. And so the rest of the language gets a little bit funky, but it says, every 2 years, the board may appoint a subcommittee of the board to include 2 board members and the superintendent to review competitive compensation benchmarks for the superintendent, the assistant superintendent, human resources director, executive director of equity, and so on. So we'll want to take a peek at that because when we look at, or we go to bargaining for the different unions, that's the time that the district takes a close look at all their compensation and it's bargained. When it comes to the superintendent and the district personnel, we don't often do that on a regular basis. And we really should try to get that done on a regular basis as we do with the unions. And so I think that's something we need to bring forward and put on some sort of a schedule that makes sense, that works with the flow of the district. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so that'll come back to us in September. That's just a brief look out. Here it comes. Okay, now we're going to talk about board member roles. And this is something that Chris Green and I have been working on off and on for a couple years. I mean, it's been a bit. And so we're bringing it to you tonight. And the intent of this is to try for new board members and existing board members and the public to understand what a board does and some of the things they know they don't do, right? We all have the parameters on the board on what we do. We set policies. We follow state and local laws. I'm not going to read all of this because it gets lengthy. We don't do things like operational decisions teaching, right? That's not something the board does. We advocate for all students and staff. We adopt district and board goals, and we set policies. We approve the school calendar. One of the main things is that we are mandatory reporters, and that's something that's not often stated, but needs to be understood, that should we see any forms of abuse, we are mandatory reporters and must report that. We also serve as a judicial role during formal complaint of their staff grievance or student expulsion appeal. So we can't personally investigate because that would bias our perception of the proceedings, because we at that point in time become a judge, 4 or 5 judge panel, and we have to be able to rule on that. So just some of the things that we do and don't do in there. And I don't know if you guys had a chance to read through it. I think it's pretty comprehensive. I want to commend Chris Green for all her work on that. She took my scratch and my wonky presentation and cleaned it up and made it better. So thank you so much for that. And at this point in time, I believe we are ready for a motion to accept the board member rules.
I will move that we accept the board member rules as listed.
I'll second.
Any questions or further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Okay, we're on to chair and vice chair elections. And I believe we were going to discuss, no, that's next. Okay, so there's some recommended changes for the chair and vice chair coming up for next year. One is to attend board meeting pre-planning meetings based on current practice of the board. So we're just going to basically codify that. That's the practice we've been having, as the chair and vice chair are there, but we'd like to put that as part of their duties. Also, facilitate and assist superintendent evaluation process. We feel that the chair and vice chair would be the best people to be in part, to lead that superintendent evaluation process. And, yep. And then also facilitate and assist with board member appointment process. This time we kind of discovered some issues with understanding with Stephanie and Sean doing this. There's a lot of the things that went on behind the scenes that I wasn't privy to. So when it comes for me to talk to it, it's going to be a little difficult because I don't know. So we decided that, well, that in the future, if that happens, it'd be a better function for the chair and vice chair to take that on, as opposed to assigning just random board members. Any questions on that?
So this is pretty much what we're already doing.
Pretty much, yeah. The one change I would say is the board member appointment process. Before it was listed just 2 board members. Now we're basically saying it should be the chair and vice chair that does that. And in this particular case, there would not have been a chairman because Ryan was the one that resigned. So it would have been the vice chair and then another member in this case. So.
we doing these as a group or one by one?
I think we're going to do, first of all, the updated chair and vice chair rules. We're going to do a movement on,
So I'll move to approve updated chair and vice chair roles as presented.
I will second that.
any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? I've been talking too much. Okay. So now we have come to the part where we're going to elect a new chairman. So the floor is open for discussion. Didn't really have anything prepared for this. I certainly am willing to be chairman. I went from vice chair. It typically goes from vice chair to chair. However, if that's not what the board wants, then that's fine as well. But at some point, we'll need a motion for a chairman.
I will motion that you become the chairman.
Thank you.
I'll second that you lose the acting title in your title.
I was looking for an Oscar. Come on. Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you all. Appreciate your
Mr.
confidence.
Chair,
Yes.
could I just clarify that that's effective July 1st?
Oh, it is July 1st. So I'm still I still get a chance for an Octor. I'm still acting. This is great news. Okay.
So these positions, this is normally something we would do in the July meeting when we have a July meeting, but because we're in June doing July's events.
Thank you.
The odds are
Good-
high, but you're telling me
Good
there's
clarification.
a chance.
Thank you.
We'll have time to maybe gild a water bottle.
Oh, wonderful. Yes. And so now we're looking for a vice chair. Do we have any nominations for a vice chair?
I would be happy to be vice chair if there's anyone else that, I mean, unless you guys want to, but,
I'd be happy to be vice chair too, but I'm not going to stand in your way.
oh, right.
I don't have a problem throwing my hat in the ring either. I'm fine with whatever.
Awesome.
Three co-vice chairs, ready, go.
Oh, what could go wrong? Well, okay. I have a feeling that this night's going to go like that some.
Yeah.
Creative pregnant pause.
Creative pregnant pause, yeah. So one of my thoughts is that Sean has been on the board longer and has seen a little bit more of what goes on behind the scenes. And I've been begging him to try to get more involved. He's just had a baby and stuff, and so I'm hopeful that he would do that. And then following that, I'm certainly hoping you ladies are going to step up in a leadership role. And please, please make this happen because love your input and know you'll manage meetings well. So I would put my support behind Sean at this point. Not that I don't think you can't do it. You can. You just have only had about a full year, and it's
I
been
agree
it's
with
been a
that.
lot.
There's so much to learn.
It is.
It's nice to have some experience
Yeah,
at the end of it.
I agree. So do we
So
need
so
to
at this point, I think we need a motion.
All right. Well, I will motion then that we elect Sean to become vice chair.
Second. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? You can say yes if you want to. I hope you want the job. If not,
I was like, I don't know if I
if
should
you
or
don't
shouldn't.
want it, say no. And yeah, we'll do something different. All right, thank you. So chair and vice chair for next year have been selected. I appreciate that so much. Now we get to the fun part. Okay, a little bit of background. We had Ryan Madeline was resigned earlier due to health concerns, and we've gone through a bit of a process, and I'm going to have Stephanie and Sean talk about that process a little bit. But as a, well, are you ready to talk about the process a little bit and how we kind of got there and got started? Okay.
So as we know, Ryan had rendered his resignation, and we came up with a list of questions and asked that applicants submit their letter of intent following those questions. And then each of us came in independently and went through the letters of intent, and we spent a very good amount of time going through them and kind of pulling out the positive characteristics of each applicant. Is applicant the right word?
Yeah,
Yes,
I think so.
okay. And kind of pulling that all together and kind of rank choicing, and then Sean and I got together and went through that, and we have brought two forward to today to discuss. I will say there were 4 total candidates, and they were all incredible. Our job was not easy. Each one of them would have made a great addition to the board. So then are you ready to hear?
Well, yeah, do you have any additions on process or at this point?
More or less, that was the process. So how we went through it when we all went through the individual assessments as we were individually assessing it. We each gave a rank 1 through 4 for each of the candidates. And so when Stephanie says we're bringing 2 today, those were the 2 that were ranked the highest based on the summary of all 4 of our individual assessments. So just how we got to the 2.
Right.
And just for clarification, Director Lunsford and Director Taylor were appointed earlier in the process to lead this part. So just for clarification on that.
That is true. Okay, so today we are bringing forward both Dave Reese and Jennifer Cooper Willis for further discussion and then to eventually vote on. On both of those, Dave has been involved in many aspects within youth with Scouts. He was a Scout Master, a Cub Scout Master. He's served on many boards, including the Albany Boys and Girls Club and Albany Chamber. And he has designed schools and athletic fields. And Jennifer has worked within the schools. She has experience with special education services. She has professional experience that would also benefit this district and is a community-minded person. So,
Do you have any comments on the 2 at the 2 finalists?
Not specifically on the 2 individuals. My process, at least for me personally, when I was looking at it, was to look at who would be a fit for the board and who we're representing within the district. And so that was where I kind of went with my rankings. And as the board, we're representing the parents and the members of the community. And those are the people that don't have a voice besides us in the community. And so that was kind of how I went about, for me personally, looking at it. And so that was kind of my 2 cents to the process.
yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I think that's probably what we all did. And we came up with different answers. I thought about whose experience and perspective is already present on the board as well. And that was really important to me. I could add that in.
Do you have more?
Well,
No, I don't want to cut you off, so that's why I was.
I'm thinking, what can we say? We talk about particular individual things that we thought about.
I guess I would look over at Chris. Yeah, my mentor says yes.
Your mentor says yes. Okay. One of the things that concerned me. You talk about concerns.
Of course. I think
Okay.
so.
For Dave was his idea of setting up more challenging metrics for the district. I think it's my experience that student achievement is not improved by setting up more challenging metrics. It's improved by attendance and their attention in class, their involvement, and by better instruction. And I guess that kind of set me sideways. I thought, well, how is that going to work? And then how would we ever manage two sets of metrics in the first place? That really concerned me. It seemed like I was really impressed with his knowledge of facilities, but so much of what we do is directed toward instruction and encouraging good instruction. So that concerned me. And then I thought about Jennifer, that a lot of the things that she's strong in are also Stephanie's strengths. Not that that's a bad thing.
Okay, well, I kind of looked at this through my own experience, of course, which is the only way I can do it. The district is facing some challenges coming at us. Some we can see, some we can't. We know we have a bond coming, right? We know we have a decreasing budget. We know that with the projected, from ODE, the projected loss of students, we're currently on track to what they predicted. So we're going to have decreasing budgets in the foreseeable future. We also have the LIRFAC committee going to give us some recommendations. Some of that may be school closures. There's going to be some hard decisions coming. As I look through the applicants, to me, Dave Reese had the best skill set to be able to help manage these crises that are coming at us. He's run facility projects. He understands big numbers. He understands when we go for a bond, prioritization and what needs to be done. He can understand that sort of stuff. He's also on the LIRFAC committee, so he's getting real-time data as he's doing it. And so it would really give us a third voice from the LIRFAC committee if he was on the board as we go forward, because we're going to have to make, again, I'll come back, some hard decisions, some decisions we don't want to have to make. They're coming at us like a freight train, and we're going to have to decide, do we go left off the tracks or right off the tracks? But we have to get out of the way of this thing or manage it. So I really am looking for someone, in my opinion, that can help us manage what's coming at us.
So my thought process going through it, Dave and Jennifer were my top two candidates. I felt like they had the best, like I had said, from what my perspective is who they're representing with their voice, and what that process is for us as the board members. We're the only members that certain members of the community get to have, whether other groups have different ways of reaching us or the district management team. I looked at who was representing what with those voices, and kind of playing off of what Brad had said. We didn't do it together, but looking at what those issues were and the voices that aren't represented anymore by either not coming to school. So is everyone all good back there? Okay. Okay, I just make sure someone didn't fall or something. Yeah, medical emergency in the back row. So just looking at what those challenges represent and the people that don't have a voice in the process that are affected by those changes regardless. I felt like while Jennifer was my second choice, I don't feel like there was a special, the representation that she was mentioning in her application, I felt like we already have from other sources. And so that's why I went with Dave for representing the members of the community that don't have another way of representing themselves here.
Anybody else have something to offer? And this, I want to have a wide-ranging discussion, so I don't want this to be somebody feeling like they don't have a chance to speak, so please do.
Yeah, I had written down just, kind of the best positive qualities on both and, just pull my notes back out. Yeah, I really don't have more to add there.
We have a lot of, oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
We have a lot of decisions coming at us, but we are about kids. We are not about buildings, just buildings. It's true, those are all factors, things to consider, but that's,
No, I agree, but also we are not operational. We are not in the schools. Our job as the board is to be the oh, come on in. Go ahead. It is to be the overview, right? And to set policies, like we just went through in the board thing, the things that we can do and the things we can't do. So we don't, when Dave said you were concerned about him setting metrics, I don't think that's a board function.
no, it isn't. That's why I was so surprised
Yeah,
to see it.
well, and because probably there wasn't this sheet for him to know and to know the nuances probably. Just my guess. But, we have to take the 30,000-foot view of the district and help guide it as the public representatives. So I got interrupted, so I lost my train of thought a little bit. Sorry. Any further discussion? Because we're going to come to the point here pretty much where we're going to look for, to vote on some names.
Right, and I think one of the things we want to look at is we have a really good working relationship right now as this board, and we want to continue that. And so I think whoever we end up putting here, I want them to be the same, be respectful of each other's voices, and, we are not always going to agree, and it's okay to not agree, but we tend to respect each other's voices, and I want to keep that going.
Agreed. Any more discussion? It's okay, Chris.
Well, we do have a whole enormous team devoting itself to facilities right now. I just want to point that out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, at this time, not exactly sure. You have to look, you may have to help me on this. What's the process on this? Do we ask for a name?
With the name of who you would want to appoint, and then you would take the votes.
Okay. So do we have a motion for a name to appoint as the next board member?
I would move to appoint David J. Reese, as board member to fill Ryan Mattingly's vacancy.
Effective August.
Effective the
17th.
date Chris says.
Sorry.
Oh, I didn't read that far, sorry.
I would second that motion. Any discussion? All in favor of appointing Dave Reese to the school board effective August 17th? Say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Vote carries 3-1. Dave Reese will be our next school board member. Thank you all very much. I think we move on now to a superintendent report.
Chris, will you put up the slides?
Sorry.
So I will cover public comment at the beginning of public comment at the end of the meeting. I do want to say a couple things. I appreciated, Stephanie, what you said, that the functioning of the board is super important. And every year at this time, I think I've done it for 16 years, I always want to reiterate that I work at the pleasure of the board. As a public servant, it defines my ethic that I am responsive to you, that I will not be bringing things in any way with an intent or without thought to a division that might be created. I just don't want to work in that way. And so, just a reminder, I work at the pleasure of the board as we go forward. And thank you. Appreciate that. I want to talk a little bit about an early literacy proposal. We're not quite done with that yet. We'll talk just a little bit about the PCB testing, and we'll talk about just some of the things that we're doing in the district, and we'll compare those against John Hattie. So we did apply for the $1.358 million in funding, and we will be working. We do have kind of a protocol that we submitted. We want to make sure that everyone in here understands that we will still be working through that with the unions who asked to bargain about that. We do have about a month, we have been told, to work with the state of Oregon to set the whole thing up. We hope that we can begin discussions with the unions prior to that time, and Brian, our attorney, will be reaching out. In fact, I texted him here tonight at the meeting saying, hey, we need to communicate with them. So it only reimburses the district for costs associated with testing, and the bargaining, we will not begin to test until we have reached an agreement with the unions. And these are available for our reimbursement all the way until June 30th of 2027. So there is a very quick time frame to apply for the funds. There is a long period of time when we can actually use the funds. And so we'll have to reach agreement, then we will move into that, into the actual testing. And we will certainly be working with the unions all the way.
Question on
Yes.
this topic. So this is for testing. Is that what this money is only for,
Yes.
correct? Have we received the test results back from the union that they mentioned that they had? Have we seen that test?
We have not.
Okay.
Do we have any idea when this would start, or we still have to go through all the negotiations?
We'll
once
have
the
to
money-
negotiate before we
Okay.
do that.
Okay.
Let's go to the next slide.
Oh, sorry.
So we've been working on this for several months now. The idea has been to put 3 days aside, particularly on our elementary schools, to do trainings on core literacy. One of the things that you guys have been aware of is that not every teacher who comes to our schools has really received a high level of training in the science of reading. 3 days would be an overview and really focused on early literacy, word recognition. And so we are wanting to put our elementary, we are finding that a 5th grade teacher or an 8th grade special education teacher are finding students that even the basic literacy skills will be appropriate for. And so we think this will be a start. A couple of things that kind of threw a little bit of a wrench in that was the governor's executive order, which, as it was written, would have taken all days out. There would be no accounting for teacher training. And so as things stand currently, there are still 30 hours allowed. If we were to take these 3 proposed days, Friday, October 22nd, and that might be Thursday, October 22nd, Friday, January 15th, Friday, February 12th, and took those days, what will be required, we won't come back to you till August with this because we still need to work with the unions, that you guys would need to approve those days and state in the motion that we're not making the days up. And that is what's required. There's a little bit of local control left for a time. In the long run, COSA will be working in a work group focused on trying to build the permanent rules to the governor's order. And we want to make sure that teacher training time is still considered in that, right? Because right now, there has been proposed new rules that will make it just class time. And so we want to help to broaden their thinking about teacher training as a natural event that will occur every school year. So we'll come back once we know more about that. So the multi-grade, we talked about this in the listening session. One of the things that the LRFAC committee asked the very first night was, you know, you guys have 14 elementary schools in a school district where the average, like for a district our size, you would see between 8 and 10 elementaries. One of the caveats is this board will be the entity that makes the decisions about any one of those, and not the long-range committee. And so you guys are going to get some recommendations from the LRFAC that will give recommendations about school size and probably a group of schools to consider. But the recommendation will come to you with some triggers, right? This is the room in the whole school district. This is the number of kids that are in each building. And that could change from year to year, which will maybe mean more schools would come onto that list, or that the schools that are on the list currently, as they get even smaller, would rise to the level. And remember, one of the issues here, and we heard in the listening session tonight about, well, we got to market and we got to make sure we're communicating. We heard that and we acknowledge that. But there is another factor at work here, which is there are fewer children being born every year at this time. And we are seeing that projected to be, at least in the foreseeable future, the next 10 to 12 years. So we will see those recommendations coming to you, and we'll have those from the Long Range Committee in mid-September, at the latest in October. Let's go to the next slide. So there's no label to this, but we hear sometimes, and we did hear tonight, that research shows different things. And so there's a man named John Hattie from New Zealand who gathers all research around a given educational undertaking, and he turns all of that research into an effect size. And if you take a look up there, you can see that 0 is to the left, and then there are developmental effects, meaning sometimes things improve because kids get older and are more capable as they get a little bit older. There are teacher effects, which can vary room to room. Sometimes it's the qualities of the teacher that may show in a given practice. And you get to 0.4, which Mr. Hattie calls the hinge point. And the things that have an impact greater than 0.4 all the way up to 1.2 are things that have been researched that show greater than a year's growth for students in general. So in other words, if you go to 0.4, 0.4 is just a year's growth, right? And so you can, regardless of the type of instructional methods, those kind of things, you can still have a year's growth. They can have a great teacher, they're getting older, those kind of things. If you get down into the red, which are called reverse effects, you have things like retention, grade retention, holding kids back, things that are significantly negative. And so we're going to talk a little bit tonight. One of the things I was reminded of is the values and beliefs. Instruct at the highest level, preparing students for life, design systems that represent all voices. And so we're going to talk a little bit about some of the things that we are really working to maximize in the district, and then where a couple of other things are in terms of Hattie. Hattie always looks at all surveys that he can find. He is from New Zealand. He looks in Western Europe, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, the United States, and all the studies that are done on any given thing, he puts into his analysis of that particular thing. And so his books are called Visible Learning. So if we take a look at, and these are color-coded to reflect where they fall. Multi-grade classrooms, he has a 0.01, and his conclusion is that these are the same as straight grade classrooms. They don't tend to have an effect. He believes that one of the things there is that very often some of the commonalities are not taken advantage of, and so they don't tend to do what, and I think tonight Janine Tope had said, well, you're not going to take advantage of some of the things that could be there because we're not doing a blend where we're blending abilities so that we can go above or below. We are typically just doing a multi-grade classroom. We agree with that assessment, but they typically are about the same. And we know that, for example, when we initiated blends last year, multi-grade classrooms, we brought teachers from Corvallis over here to train our teachers to do that because Corvallis has already been doing them. They had such an enrollment drop. Class size always tends to be something that is very much in teachers' minds. And in terms of the effect, it is not significant. It is a 0.17. Remember, we're looking at the hinge point of 0.4. We do not see that. And I can tell you, watching a classroom, always the most important factor in a classroom is the teacher, what the teacher has the kids doing. And it always is amazing to me. Like, I've never been in a classroom where I had a great teacher and I said, is it because there's 24 and not 25? A great teacher is a great teacher, and learning occurs in the classroom. And so it has a teacher effect. And one of the reasons that, there are really two reasons. Number one, when you get a smaller classroom, teachers often continue to teach the same that they have habitually taught, right? And so you don't realize the gains. And the second is, most of the time when you look at research, great teachers screw up the class size thing because they tend to be great teachers at 31, and so you don't get the data that show the number is telling. If you look at the blue, though, instructional leadership, 0.6, we talked about this at the budget meeting. People who are not focused on instruction as principals tend to be at about 0.15, whereas principals who really work on their impact and their staff's impact tend to show 0.6, which is year and a half. Teacher clarity, we're working very hard on the purpose of lessons. Teacher clarity, 0.75. Student discussion or engagement is a 0.82. We really want teachers to spend a lot of time getting their kids to talk with each other. Student feedback, 0.73. Student self-assessment, 0.9. Video review of lessons by a teacher who watches their own lesson to learn from it, 1.01. And teacher collective efficacy is the single greatest thing that Hattie has found that affects student achievement, and that is a staff who believes they can work together to solve problems together and focus on their impact. When we see individual studies cited, over there on the right is the number of studies that Mr. Hattie has evaluated to determine that impact. And so you generally, like instructional leadership is a fairly recent one. There's only 27 studies on that. But if you look at student self-assessment, 218 studies and 270 studies that show the value of video review. And so these are books. They are called Visible Learning. He has done 2. And his second edition, the number of studies that he has applied to each of those is more because more research is being done all the time. And so I believe that we are working in the right direction with ESSEL when we ask not just that teachers do it, but administrators learn it and give a lot of feedback. And we want to continue that work. And obviously there's more work to do, but we feel like we're moving in a good direction there.
Question for you on that.
Yes.
So the student feedback and the student self-assessment has been brought up as part of CEL. One thing some of the principals have mentioned when they come in, and they've used AI, and I believe some of them have used video when giving their evaluations.
Yeah.
Is that kind of like this, or is that solely teachers doing it on themselves?
The ones that so far have given cameras to people, they have turned the camera over to them.
Okay.
Right? And so even the AI, teachers have the ability to go and put their own stuff in there. They could get that feedback without the administrator doing that as well. And what we really want to do is broaden that practice to where any teacher could film themselves and tape themselves and get that feedback whenever they want it.
Yeah. I was curious if that was falling in between the 1.01 or the 0.6, because those are kind of different, but I was just, because I mean, that seemed like obviously it's something that works, so I was curious what
Yeah.
exactly that fell under.
Student self-assessment becomes really important. For a student to be able to say, I think I'm getting what you're teaching, requires a teacher to be fairly clear about here's what you're going to learn today, so they can then determine whether or not they've learned it. And so all these things really fit together in the long run.
It's hard, I think, well, I know it took me a number of years to be able to see what was happening in my class. And because
Yeah.
there's so much going on and you're standing in one place and you just don't
Yeah.
take it all in. So the videos, it sounds like it'd be simple, doesn't it?
That depends.
It's way not simple.
I believe that.
I think I speak for most teachers when I say I'm not always comfortable hearing my own voice as I think I hear it. And there's a lot of teachers that have a fear there.
But it's very helpful to see what's actually going on besides what's in your head at the time.
That will be something that we build in practice over time. And that's all I have tonight.
Okay, moving on to board member reports. Who wants to go first? Oh, come on.
Graduations, we went to graduations.
We did.
Yeah, and award ceremonies. Wonderful.
My hands are still recovering.
That was a really positive thing to be a part of.
Yeah.
Graduations. It's exciting.
Yeah, it's one of the crown jewels of what we get to do. It's really, really fun to be there and be on the stage and see all the kids that graduate. I really like that.
Absolutely.
Personally, I think that's the highlight of my time having done this, is being able to congratulate the graduating classes from each of the high schools as they finish up their time here and move on to all the different aspects of what they're doing throughout their life. And other news, not so as happy, I'm continuously getting emails in regards to the safety concerns related to the PCB thing. It was made very public, and people are not happy that they haven't seen tests. And I keep getting emails saying, is my kid going to a classroom this year, next year, that's not safe? So that's why I brought up earlier, if we've received the other results, there's people that would love to know. And then in terms of budget and schools, I'm receiving lots of emails from parents that are saying, well, why is my school cutting X number of positions? And some are saying that, oh, my school is the only one doing it. I don't know if that's something that, I don't think there's one school that's not cutting. Based on my understanding of it, it seems like that's across the board. I just don't know if maybe that's just a clarification that needs to be made. Like, we're not going with it's across the board that we're having to make this adjustments.
Yeah, there may be a little bit of variation, and I'll give one example. We actually so a lot of our enrollment has come where kids enter our elementary schools over time. Our high schools are very much the enrollment that they have been in the past few years, because they have not seen those cohorts arrive at that level yet. We did do some reductions, like the West Albany vice principal. But in general, across a given grade band, we are cutting in all schools.
Yeah. I didn't clarify, most of those
We'll
emails were about
communicate that.
elementary level, so I figured all elementary levels are seeing those reductions
Yes,
based
they
on
are.
sizes.
So I was going to go ahead and get my thing. Question to you, Andy. On our PCB testing, what's the name of our company that we had test?
We have used Apex.
Apex, yeah. Those results are posted, are they not, on our district website?
I don't know if we have sent them out. I don't know if we have continually posted them, but we can. Happy to do that.
I think it would be a good idea, if you don't mind, just so people can see our results and what we came up with and the testing methodology and the report from Apex, because I think people are concerned, and we can show them the results of what we found. And then as we wait the money to come in to go do further testing.
Happy to do that.
That'd be one.
With the email.
Yeah, I think so. Well, and the transparency. We want people to understand that we took this incredibly seriously when it was reported. PCBs were found. And so we went and we did our own testing, and I believe the results were negative.
Yeah, and one of the things that will obviously be something that we work on with the unions is the, how we will test to find the EPA's level for schools.
Sure.
Right, and so we want to make
It has
sure
to be
that
an
that
approved testing method by
methodology.
an approved company,
Yeah.
absolutely, yeah. Also tonight, we had a listening session, which was wonderful. We had a fair number of people here. We only had 4 people sign up. 2 of them accidentally thought it was just a sign-up sheet to be in the room. So we got to call on them and have them talk anyway. So it was really fun. We had some really good conversations. Really appreciate people showing up to that. It is one of our, it's my favorite thing to do when it comes with the public, because we actually get to have a conversation. So like if there's people going to speak tonight after the end of the board meeting, it typically is a 3-minute monologue aimed at the board, and we kind of sit here and nod our heads. Where in a listening session, we have an 8-minute window. In this case, we had even longer because we had more time, and we could have some more random questions come in. And it really was a nice conversation. It was really good to hear from people and talk about their concerns and get some more information for ourselves. The last thing I've got is the teacher training. One of the things that I think is super important is to have kids in classrooms. And this is probably the one thing that I would say that would be important to have kids not in the classroom is to teach kids, allow teachers to go to training to learn how to teach reading. It seems like it's a skill that's not being taught in the universities, and I think it would be absolutely critical to getting our students reading at grade level, because from all the studies we've heard about, if they're not reading at the grade level by 3rd grade, they've got trouble ahead of them and they have some more difficulties. So while I'm not typically in favor of missing class time, I think that would be a wonderful thing. So I'm hopeful that the union and the district can come to some terms and make that happen. That would be wonderful.
I don't think you ever lose on training teachers. No.
Anything else, guys, before we move on?
I mean, we had graduations, we had the LURFAC meeting.
That's up next.
Is that next?
Yep.
Okay, then I'll wait, yeah.
Or you can just start on.
Well, actually, we're right at H1. Let's have a LIRFAC update.
All right, well, we had our meeting, I guess that was last week, this week, no, last week. It does. And, well, we kind of had some more thoughts, collaborative, taking a look at everything. You know, there's a lot that needs to happen in the district. There's a lot we want to see happen, and there's a lot that unfortunately is going to have to, like you said, tough decisions are going to have to be made. At this point, we're kind of at a break on these meetings until September. Yeah, so I don't know that any official thing had been decided at this last meeting, but.
Yeah, I would say my overall view of it was going over priorities and ranking items that have a fixed budget, an estimated budget associated with it. So if we are, as a board and a district, looking at potentially going out for a bond, to keep the tax rate the same, we were looking at approximately $168 million. If you look at just the high priority items that were assessed based on the survey and the based on the outside assessor, Sage, correct?
Sage Architect.
Yes, okay. I was thought I had the name right, but yeah, Sage's assessment, that would be approximately $165 million to complete those within the bond, and that was only the high priority items, and there is a lot more past that.
There is.
And that's kind of where it got into what is a priority for what level, how can we best assess the facilities that we have, and what the lifetime and future of those facilities are or can be with improvements, and how much money what's the cost benefit of buildings and facilities that we have currently. So it's a juggling act, and we did a lot more ranking and seeing where, for example, the table I was sitting at, there was an item that was on a low priority list that they wanted to bump up. It's it's just $1 million. But if you do enough of those, this one was separate health rooms, putting those in at the different facilities. And so it was just something where it doesn't seem like a crazy number, but if you start looking at all of the high priority list is half a page. The medium is a page and a half. The low is 2-3 pages, if I remember correctly.
So the high priority list is the things that if we don't do them, something worse will happen.
Correct. Like, so there are assessments like the roof. Like, if we can't insure the roof anymore, then everything within the envelope is, so that's a good assessment.
Yeah, but, reconfiguring things, that would be way down.
So just to add on, the 165 million total, the list of high priorities and 3 projects amounted to 165. The build out of Taquina, which would add the south side classrooms. They would, 2 of those would be a special education setting. 2 of the classrooms would be with a room in between so that you could cite a special program within the building. There currently is a portable Outback. South Albany and West Albany projects, high priorities, 165. There are 2 ways that the number could be increased. The awesome matching grant, if we applied for and we were awarded that, could gather another 8 million in through the state. And then we will get another assessed value update early in the fall, probably in September, that could add 3 to 4% to that, which might be another 4 to 5 million. So a couple $1 million things.
Say if you'd like, I could show you, or I could read off the whole list of high priorities, whatever you prefer. Okay. So pass that.
Okay. We're moving next to the school resource officer report.
Thank you, Chair Wilson. I have the opportunity to introduce Officer John Wymore. He is pretty much our solo acting school resource officer this year. He's been working with Sergeant Sam Posthuma. Officer Gina Bell got called in to fill a detective role due to APD being short-staffed, and then she was put back on patrol due to staffing issues. So John has done the lion's share of the work this year, and he's done a fantastic job as a first-year SRO. You know, if you talk to any of our building principals in terms of his response rate, the way he interacts with kids, he's been a huge addition for us as a district this year. It's been a real privilege to work with him over the course of the year, and I know he's going to have some great things to share based on his work in the district. So, John, it's all you.
Awesome. How long do I have? I want to.
3 hours.
I'm
so
a
please
talker,
take the time.
So I could talk forever.
2.7 minutes, and I'm timing you. No, I'm just kidding.
I do want to say I've learned a lot by sitting in, and my wife, who's watching at home, texted me. She was very fascinated about the light bulb thing. I thought that was a great public comment. Something I learned tonight. I really enjoyed that. I went ahead and printed you guys some handouts. It's also electronic. But I wanted to start by having you guys turn to the bottom of the last page. There's a big triangle there. It's actually 4 triangles. This is NASRO's, they call it the NASRO's triad model. And when I was applying to be a school resource officer about a year ago, I went and interviewed Bruce and all the principals at the schools and said, what do you guys want out of a school resource officer? And one thing that really stuck with me, it was Anna Harriman at South Albany High School. She said, you know, we don't just want a police officer. If we wanted somebody that could enforce laws, we just call 911. We'd have a patrol person come over. What we need out of a school resource officer is somebody who can provide resources, who can do mentoring, who can use discretion and help our kids be successful. And I thought that was so wonderful. It's something that really stuck with me. And it happens to be totally in line with NASRO, with their triad. And so what this picture shows in the middle with being a school resource officer is these are our 3 goals as a school resource officer. The first one on top there is being a mentor. A mentor, sometimes they also use the phrase informal counselor. And so for us being in the schools, this is an opportunity for us to meet people, build relationships, and have those positive conversations and use discretion. We don't want kids to enter the criminal justice system unnecessarily. And this is where we can use our discretion, that we can have meaningful conversations with kids, with their parents, connect them to important resources within the community, whether that's mental health, drug and alcohol treatment. And so we can have meaningful conversations with kids. And this is what is my favorite part of this, is being a mentor. Another aspect of this triangle is educator. So one of my roles in the schools is to provide public safety education. And this looks like a lot of forms, like I'll talk about tonight. But this is providing education, whether that's internet safety, drug education classes, wearing a helmet, what are our laws for e-bikes and e-scooters, things like that. And so that's one of my roles, is to provide education to keep kids safe, keep our community safe. And then the last part of that triangle is law enforcement. My job is to keep kids safe, to keep our schools safe. And so we do a lot to ensure the safety of our kids. And sometimes that is enforcing laws, enforcing criminal laws, but it's also a lot of things like, doing our lockdown drills, things like that, to help prepare and prevent and deter crime from even making its way into the schools. So if you go back up to the second page, I kind of broke this into some categories. For me, I think that this all starts, being a school resource officer, kind of making any portion of this happen. It all starts with building relationships, and you can't build relationships unless you're present. As Bruce pointed out, one of the challenges I had this year was it's just me for the whole district. And so if I could go back and wave a magic wand, one thing I wish I could do was just duplicate myself, and I wish we had 10 SROs. Because I think it's just so valuable to be in the schools all the time. So I wasn't at my desk very often. I was always, as much as I could, being in the schools, building relationships. I think that when you build those relationships, you build trust. And when you build trust, that's when you can have those good conversations. And so here I highlighted some of these fun things. This isn't an exhaustive list, but just some of the fun things that we did to build relationships with the community, or with the schools here. One of the pictures on the far right, that's me doing push-ups with kids at Periwinkle Elementary at their jogathon. I went to a few different jogathons this year, ran laps. I look kind of silly. I've got all my stuff is bouncing around. But just running laps, doing push-ups, trying to make it fun, handing out stickers with kids. On the left side there, that's a picture of me. I attended a bowling event with one of the North Albany Middle School functional skills classes. And that was really cool. It was a good way to show kids, I think, that I'm more than just a person in a uniform. I actually, to be honest, forget I'm wearing this uniform. And so when I'm driving in my patrol car, sometimes people look at me. I'm like, why are people looking at me? And then I remember, okay, it's because I look like a police officer today. The one in the middle, that's my sergeant, Sam Postuma, and he is given a ride. There was raffles done, and somebody won a ride with a police officer to school, and they chose to go to prom. So this is a girl and her date going to prom in a police car. So I thought that was really fun.
Better than going home from prom in a police car. So thank you.
That's true. One fun thing that I added here was the ESL Reading Club. So at North Albany Middle School, I was invited by one of the counselors. I bring Bentley. He's their black lab wellness dog, if anyone's seen him around town. I bring him with me as much as I can to the schools. And she invited me to come to a reading group they had. It was for students who English is their second language, and so they're primarily Spanish speakers. And as you know, this year has been tense for relationships with the Latino community and law enforcement in our nation. And I thought, what a better way to build trust with that community than to going to this reading group. And so there was a couple of them. We'd meet once a week. I'd bring Bentley, and they would read in English to Bentley, and then I would speak with them in Spanish. And then on one of the final days that we did this, I brought Juaritos drinks and some Takis, because that's what the kids wanted. And we just had fun. And so these things, reading across America, going to school assemblies, visiting at the playground, this for me was the most fun and I think the most beneficial thing as far as just building that trust with the community, building that trust and saying, we're here to help. I'm here to help you students succeed. And that doesn't always look like law enforcement. It looks like building that partnership, building that trust, and then when there's a difficult time or there is something that comes up, then they can trust that I'm here to help them succeed in whatever way that looks like. The second category there is education, and I highlighted just some, again, not an exhaustive list, just some of the things that we did. I'll start with the thing on the right. That's from NCMEC. Is anyone familiar with NCMEC? It's the National Center for Exploited and Missing Children. So one thing that I wish I could have done more was provide more education classes at the middle and high school levels. But what this app is, and anyone here, you can go, it's totally free. You can go to noescaperoom.com or noescaperoom.org. And what this is, it's a 10-minute interactive video. It's really high quality, made by NCMEC. And what this is, it kind of walks you through a scenario of a kid who's getting a text from somebody and then kind of getting almost scammed or lured into a bad situation. And so when I responded to many calls this year of kids who were, people would try to have conversations with kids when they shouldn't. And so this was something that I would give to parents as a tool to say, hey, watch this together as a family and then have conversations, important conversations about internet safety. So I included that there because I just thought it was such a good tool. The one in the middle, this is actually from our youth academy. Our youth academy was almost exclusively Albany students. We had a couple that came from, one from Corvallis and one from the coast, but this was a whole day on a Saturday where we kind of showed them all the things that we do in police work. The picture specifically is when we talked about drugs and alcohol, and we had them put on beer goggles and then see what that felt like to walk around the room. Throwing one of the kids there a beach ball, and it's really just to kind of give that education piece about how does drugs and alcohol affect your physical body, your judgment, your reasoning, and things like that. I taught this class as well, the drugs and alcohol class, especially regarding fentanyl. I had a special emphasis on fentanyl, and I did that at middle schools and one of the high schools as well, and it was a lot of fun. We did some career day presentations, community partnership. I just threw that in there also on the education portion because I did get the opportunity to partner with groups like FACT, the Families and Communities Together, Linn County Mental Health, Linn County Drug and Alcohol Treatment, Trillium Services. I worked with, a few other ones there, but that was a really fun experience, is just being able to connect people to those different resources as well. And then the last part of that last category there is school safety. So of course this is a priority for me, is keeping kids safe. And so we did 2 lockdown drills at every school. We did one at the start of the school year and then kind of the front end of the school year, and then one probably about 2/3 of the way through the school year. One thing that I want to focus on next year, it is a challenge, but I think it's necessary, is doing it during an obscure time like recess or lunch. Obviously, it's unfortunate for kids who are trying to eat their lunch and then get interrupted, or kids need their playtime and they need to get their energy out. So if you do it at recess, that's a challenge. But unfortunately, you got to plan for the unplanned. So that's something that we're going to do next year, is just almost
We can talk about that more later, Officer Wymore. Thank you.
Yeah. Is just kind of doing those lockdown drills. We were also present at sporting events and graduations. I went to all 3 of the high school graduations, so we made sure that we staffed those big events. And then I put there the use of secure holds. We did actually use a couple secure. That's different than a lockdown. Secure just means that no one goes in and no one goes out of the building. We had a couple major events in town here. I'm sure you guys are aware of one at the courthouse recently when I was on duty, and then one in North Albany. And in those, for instance, the one in North Albany, I was able to call, have NAMS called and say, hey, can you guys go into a secure hold until the scene is clear? So I was pleased to see that the training that we did paid off in those moments that are critical. And then the last page here, this is just some statistics to kind of show you. On the bottom, I circled those boxes in orange, and that's from the 2024-2025 school year. So this is the year before I came in. And then on the top, in the top portion, that's this current school year that we just finished up. The last year we had 49 offense reports. This year we had 61, so we had slightly more. And then it also kind of broke it down into different ages for people. as well as some of the schools that we saw the most calls coming from. Most of the calls, of course, are coming from high school and middle school level. I did think it was kind of interesting noting, for all the days of the school year we had, all the hours we spent at the schools, we had 61 offense reports. I think that actually goes to show how many times that I had the opportunity to have those mentoring discussions and make referrals to other outside agencies, whether that's mental health or FACT, or even just having conversations with parents and saying, for all the contacts we had to only end up with 61 offense reports, I think is really good. And it shows just that heart that we have to use mentoring education as tools instead of just the law enforcement portion. So I know that's a lot. This year for me was like drinking from a fire hydrant, so I just regurgitated a little fire hydrant right back for you. But if you guys have any questions, I'm happy to answer. I know it's a late night long meeting, so I'm happy to answer those later as well.
Any theories about what it is? Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
What is it about age 15?
Good question. I think that's an age where the brain, obviously we know that kids' prefrontal cortex isn't developed until they're, in their early to mid 20s. I think 15 is that time. A lot of kids are going through puberty, a lot of testosterone. I think they're also socially, that's that time, they're turning 15, they're getting into high school age. I think they've got a lot of freedom, and they're just trying to figure things out. So I do think there's something about that middle high school age boys that they're trying to figure out, push limits and things like that.
That is a ninth grade boy.
I said I think the can do matches the will to, like
Well, yeah.
freedom and ability.
We need to watch out for these kids.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, what's funny though about that age is the kids that I did have to have tough conversations or there was law enforcement action. One thing I really enjoy about the SRO role, when I'm on patrol, I just came from a 12-hour patrol shift right before this. When you work with adults and there's an arrest made, they don't typically enjoy seeing you after that. In the schools, I can't think of a single kid that afterwards, I see them the next week, they came up, some of them would hug me, high-five me, ask for a sticker. And so it was actually really neat, especially even these young boys come up and fist bump. I learned there's a whole new handshake thing that the kids are doing now. So I do think that was a cool age, even though they're a little more squirrely and rascally. I think a lot of them have really good hearts, and you can see them starting to make a difference. So, yeah, Sean.
So one thing that's obviously your focus, but is also an important factor for us. So we're going through the LARFAC committee, and one of the high priority items is securing schools and secure vestibules. I don't know how much operational you can or want to tell us in terms of what is or isn't. How would you say we as a district are doing in your experience?
Something I did notice on some of the newer schools that I really appreciate is where you have a vestibule. You think about Meadow and Timber where there's multiple sets of doors to get from the school into the actual heart of the school. I think that's really valuable as a gatekeep, especially, parents are coming in all the time, but who's to say that there's not somebody that we don't want in there? And so you look at some of the older built schools and it's just the main entrance and it floods right into the school. And so I really appreciated seeing in these new school designs how there is a barrier when people enter. They have to go through one set of doors and get scanned in, go into the office, and then go into the school. That was something I thought was really neat. Also at some of those newer schools, when they have a fire drill or a lockdown button that they press, it actually has doors in main hallways. So again, think about Meadow, you've got doors that will lock that aren't accessible to anyone. And so that safeguards every classroom after that. Whereas some of the older buildings where it's just kind of a free-for-all once you get in there, I think, if I had my druthers and I was designing schools, that's one of the biggest things I would look for, would be that design model of having the gatekeep at the vestibule. I will say another thing I've spoken with Bruce about this year is the security cameras. I think are needing an improvement. A lot of them, not just maintenance issues, but just the quality of the cameras, I think would help a lot for security reasons. That was another big thing I thought was the surveillance system. At some point, that if that was able to be updated or improved, I think that would help a lot for school safety.
Fantastic. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
John, I just want to thank you and the other officers for being at graduation. It was the smoothest South Albany graduation I've ever seen, because usually there's a traffic that goes by there. You got guys racing and making a lot of noise. It didn't happen this year, and so it was a really great event.
Thank you. Yeah, we had one car parked out on the main drag. We had 2 officers positioned right over there on right along Waverly, just ready in case anyone got squirrely. And then myself as well on the field. So we had a very intentional extra presence there just to prevent any of those cars from honking and doing that kind of stuff.
It was fabulous, and the event went really well, and it was my 5th one, and it was the best of all of them. So
Awesome.
I think
Thanks,
that's a
sir.
great thing to continue. Thank you.
Yeah.
Officer Wymore, thanks so much. Based on the presentation, you could see why he was chosen last year as the top candidate for the position. I had the opportunity to sit on the interview committee. He did a ton of research ahead of time. It's definitely proven itself. Officer Wymore, thanks so much. Appreciate you.
Thank you guys. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next we move to the consent agenda. Looking for a motion unless somebody has questions.
I will move to approve the consent agenda. So,
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that moves us now down to,
Kelsey.
yeah, reports, an equity update from Kelsey. Awesome.
All right, let's see if I can get, okay, awesome. Fun fact, John and I have.
Move your mic closer, please.
John and I share a very close friend, and we made this discovery. We're both from the Eugene area, and we share a friend. And I was like, oh my gosh. Anyways,
Awesome.
I digress. It's a small world. So I am finishing up my 3rd year, and I've consistently said it takes 3 to 5 years to really feel an impact or hit a rhythm or start to see change, maybe even like come to a breakthrough moment. And I think this year really was that pinnacle. I will say there was some chewiness to it, but it also gave us a very clear and intentional roadmap for what we can do moving forward. And this year we focused a lot on elevating student, family, staff, and community voices. So through surveys, listening sessions, committee meetings, student groups, family events, community partnerships. And not only that, the number one tenor that we heard through that was that they want us to do something with that information, right? So I'm going to speak to some of those things and some of the plans we have moving forward. So this year we started our District Equity Committee, the DEC, which is the Senate bill that I spoke about consistently. We decided for this first year to meet 4 times and kind of build rapport and figure out where we wanted our main goal to be. It became evident right out the gate that community partners who were a part of that, like Jackson Street, ABC House, Andares, NAACP, AAYLC, et cetera, as well as we had some FACT team on there. We had our curriculum specialist, Bruce was a part of this, that there was a desire for more community engagement and feedback. And so that was the goal that we took. I communicated with Andy that was the number one feedback we received. And so the remainder of the year, we kind of focused on gathering some data around where we are and what we would like to do with that information. So I used the NYU Comprehensive Self-Assessment Tool, which coincidentally, quite a few of the districts in our region are also using, because we partnered with the Regional Racial Equity Group, which is run through the ESD. So it's all of our surrounding districts who want to be a part of this like equity in action for school districts in our region come together. So we all were using this assessment tool in a myriad of ways. I chose to use it with our deck. And when we looked at the average score of approval rating around our ability to engage community and family, it was 33%. I will note that when we read through this information, it wasn't so much that the systems don't exist, because they do. It was more, there's a gap in how we are communicating these services, or maybe we're not receiving enough feedback in how families want to hear about it, right? So like I know specifically our Latino communities tend to appreciate phone calls and texts. And so when we have a campaign or something that we're pushing, my team sits down and calls every single person on that list. It's like 4,000 people, and we get the numbers. So I think we need to do a good job of hearing from community. What times would you like events to be? How frequently do you want to receive information? Where are you receiving your information, et cetera? And how do we make sure that we're meeting that need? Additionally, the populations that came up the most in those conversations were families whose kiddos are experiencing and receiving special education services, Spanish-speaking students and families, students experiencing homelessness, and Black students. It's possible that that was the representation in our committee, and therefore that was what was coming up, but we ended up deciding that next year we'll look at some subcommittees and really try to parse this out more intentionally and meet more frequently. So yeah, that's what I have to report on the deck. The Black Student Success Grant, if you recall, is a regional effort under the umbrella of the NAACP. We're moving into our third year receiving this grant. Legislation did reduce that by 70%, so that did offer some challenges, but we worked as a committee to really decide how we wanted to prioritize our spending. And these are some of the things that our students were able to experience and participate in. So this year, our region took on the Black graduation, which is something that happens in Eugene and Corvallis. Salem. So Corvallis, Philomath, Lebanon, and Albany all sent our Black graduates to attend and be a part of a cultural celebration in previous to their actual graduation. So they had an opportunity to receive kente stoles and have a more intentional gathering amongst their peers. Additionally, they all attended the AAYLC, which is African American Youth Leadership. And then this year, I put on the Black Excellence Symposium, which was the first year doing that, which we invited and hosted all of the school districts that are participating under this umbrella grant to be a part of a half-day focus group. We had some keynote speakers, Mayor Johnson and Councilwoman Ramicia McGee, and then we walked through scenarios with students. We asked for direct feedback from them. We had adults from all walks of school districts come, and we sorted kids out just willy-nilly, so they would have the opportunity to engage with each other and not just sit with their best buds and build rapport outside of their own town. And it was really positive. Students were incredibly brave and open and honest in a way that I hadn't seen from our Black students historically. And so I think that speaks to the comfort that they're having amongst each other, and also their desire for some movement around what they're experiencing. That said, BSUs and BIPOC affinity spaces across the board continue to be a keystone for student experience and fostering belonging and connection and pride and comfort. And I think through this grant too, it also has elevated that students are willing to speak up about incidents that they're experiencing, and they want to see a shift in that experience. They also don't want to be the ones to tell the adults what they need. They need the adults to step into those roles. That was a huge theme that was taken away from the Black Excellence Symposium. While there was a lot of positive, there was a lot of things around. I really enjoy my athletics. I really enjoy my coaches. I enjoy the musicals I'm a part of. Actually, some of my friends aren't Black, and I feel safe amongst peers who don't identify with me. But then at the same time, there are some pockets of belonging that feel safer, like the BSU. Additionally, students express their desire to see representation in adults in their buildings, whether that's staff, teachers, administrators, and even curriculum, and not wanting the protagonist around Black literature to be completely around slavery or hardship, but like Black joy as well. That actually perpetuates the stereotype and leads into hallway conversations, which can be challenging. So I think that was really powerful, them to speak to that. And the number one thing I think that they brought up is like, you know, we're 15, 16, we're experiencing things, we're bringing them the stuff to the adults, and we need that shift to happen. And that's where I see my job then is to make sure that adults are prepared, because this stuff doesn't come with a manual. It's challenging. Not everyone chose to do this as a profession, so it's my role to make sure that the adults have the opportunity to practice, get comfortable, be comfortable making mistakes too, because I think the other thing that these students offer is grace. They would rather an adult try and do it wrong. Like, there's no perfect way to do it, but to say something. I think one student shared, and I won't use profanity, but they said it's interesting that a teacher can hear the F word down the hall but can't hear the N word in the classroom. And I can't speak to what that experience is, right? Because I think sometimes we shut off our ears and we get into these rhythms. And if you're not accustomed to responding to that, not everyone responds, right? We have fight, flight, or freeze. And that's human. So I think then it just speaks to the need for us to do some more intentional work to support the adults, and that our role collectively is to support students. So really grateful for the opportunity to engage with these kids. Additionally, our district is 35% Latino, and it's continuing to grow. And as Officer Wymore stated, this year has been challenging. We have experienced some emotional and tumultuous experiences for our families and their willingness to send kiddos to school or show up to events, etc. And I just have to give a huge hat off to my newest employee, Karina. She is our family engagement and outreach staff, and she has just flipped the engagement on its head. Historically, we had low attendance for our cafecitos, which are our coffee hours, maybe 5 parents. And at this point, she's having to make lists and tell people, I'm so sorry, like, I can get you in the list for next time. And I think the majority of this came from, we had an active goal of engaging families and asking them what they wanted to hear about, what time they wanted to hear about it, and how they wanted to receive that information. So we worked with FACT, we worked with Stacy Lee on curriculum and TAG, we worked with Krista and Ashley from the special ed department. We talked about IEPs, we talked about all sorts of things that are historically accessible, but maybe not in the language or the time frame that works for all families. And when we were offering them the information they wanted in the way that it was best received, they showed up in droves. Additionally, we met their cultural needs in terms of offering some food, sharing a meal, and just engaging holistically. Additionally, my team works their tails off. And this is just a touch of what it is they do day to day when we think about what their roles are. So there's 2 translators, and one of them is also our family engagement and outreach person, and they translated 850 documents this year. That's 2,000 pages, and I am a second language. I learned Spanish and English at the same time. I can't translate well when it comes to documents. I struggle. It is a challenge, and not only that, there's 2 of them, so they have to double check each other as well, because Spanish can look different depending on country, region, dialect, etc. Furthermore, it's important that we translate in a way that our community is going to receive it. So not everyone in our community might have the literacy skills that someone else might have, and or maybe comes from a country where the native dialect might be something different than Spanish, right? Zapotec, Mixtec, native languages that come from different regions in South America. So Spanish might not even be their first language, and then English is ending up being their 3rd language. So how are we meeting the needs of those families, particularly in a time when they're maybe fearful to engage? So these numbers really highlight that. And I also just want to state that the FACT department this year worked with myself and some other community organizations to make a plan for the summer, because the majority of my team are 10-month employees, and I only have 1 employee who works 12 months, and that's Gonzalo, who comes at the beginning and talks about interpretation. So we've made a plan with OHP, navigators, and some other folks to be reaching out to Latino families at food drops that we'll be announcing, as well as having set office hours so that families know that someone is going to be there consistently in a time that they can rely on. So yeah, huge shout out to the Welcome Center team. Grateful to have them. They serve our families in a way I could not master. Okay, so I historically gave numbers, and so at the beginning of this year, I started just doing data analysis this way because I want you to see the numbers of impact. And I will just share that across the 3 years, within a whole school year, the numbers have been in the 400s, 500s. This year was no different. However, something I wanted to note since February. Bullying related to race and ethnicity was occurring, and I heard reports from Sue Luthra, the elementary director, and some of the principals that they had seen a notable decrease. And I think that to me was just a resounding, okay, that's just going to be a continuation. And not only that, I want to develop some more age appropriate and developmental appropriate lessons for the littler kiddos as well, and maybe reach into the middle school. So as we were speaking with Officer Wymore, brain development and puberty, et cetera, the middle school has stayed steady in their process. They're really good at talking about each other and really good at telling on each other, and so the reporting numbers just consistently are there. And as Ken Gilbert would say, they're just not slick. Like, they're not good at hiding it. It's very much in the forefront. And I'm actually incredibly grateful that I'm now starting to see some of those more rascally 8th graders who really thought they were like cream of the crop move on to high school. And I'm seeing them really blossom and become more mellow and like engage in a different way, no longer have to like puff out their chest. They're like, okay, I'm here, and we're setting into a rhythm. So that's been fun to see as well. I think the most notable thing is at the high school level, and I know that number seems really high, and it is, but it's not because there's been some massive shift in student experience. I think, frankly, the targeted engagement with students and building rapport and trust has led them to be more transparent and less take it on the chin and move through. One student said, I used to keep my head down and move through it, and then I realized high school is 4 years. That's a long time to take it on the chin. And not only that, as kids have reported, I have been really impressed with the adults at the high school level and their willingness to respond and their like desperation for that answer, right? Like, it's challenging. No building principal wants their students to be experiencing harm. So I really look forward to next year to work more directly with some of those principals, inviting them to affinity groups just to show up. Bruce does a really good job of just showing up and mucking it up, and when I show up and he's not there, they're always like, where's Bruce? And so just not even to be there as like a background person, but principals, come on, sit down, let's play bingo. Here's some nerds. We're gonna get into it and eat some candy, like just to be there. Because I'm one person and I can't be in every building, and I want that reporting to go to those principals. And I believe in their ability to support those. So I think the elementary, continuing with the lessons, expanding them into the middle school, at least at the beginning grade levels, or maybe in the middle. I haven't quite decided. Additionally, I have the privilege of sitting on the APD's diversity and action team, and Jennifer Williams, previous SRO, her wife is the bias incident reporter for our region, and we've thought about, would it be important to maybe offer some additional training to students and staff around like when these types of things happen in community too, who's your resource? What can you do? How can you report? Maybe your families are experiencing that. So that's something we're looking at as well. And if you have questions as we're going through, I'm happy to answer them, but you can also hold them till the end, of course. All right, so next steps. I am really looking forward to working with Bruce and some principals and my colleagues on moving through these challenges. This year was hard, and we received some like very plain information, but I think it's been a strong compass for where we need to go. So that will look like co-led professional development for principal, with me and principals to staff. It'll look like more lessons. It'll look like more engagement to community and family on how to access systems, who to call, process, et cetera, because those things do exist, and over-communicating is never a bad thing. But ultimately, we all want to be building a community and culture where students feel safe, where adults feel confident to respond, that we're overcoming that fear to do it wrong, and that there's a shared responsibility beyond myself in buildings. Yeah. Preguntas, questions? A minute to take it in, I apologize.
Not something super crazy, but I do have I'm not in classrooms every day, but I do have an experience with athletics when I'm reffing. There've been some stuff that's happened on fields. Is that something that gets reported to you guys and that you guys address, or is that what happens with that? Because I mean, we stop the game, we do what we're supposed to do during the game and address it, but I don't know where it goes after that.
Yeah, and so I think sometimes there's confusion too about like who receives things. So when I started in the district, there was an external process where it came directly to my predecessor. And then in my first year, we implemented a more internal process where reports would go to a principal, but there's still that outside reporting that comes to me. So typically if it's at a building or on a field, principal is present, the expectation would be that the principal is there and handling it. I don't always see those if, the coach and whomever are receiving it and handling that process. If it's an extra sticky or chewy situation, sometimes I'm called, sometimes Bruce is called. But beyond that, I can speak to the fact that next year too, we will be working with coaches and athletic teams as well to kind of strengthen our expectations around that stuff. I think there's that camaraderie piece, which can sometimes shift into a space where it's not always appropriate. And so there'll be some more intentional training for athletes as well. Yeah, great question. I appreciate it.
Kelsey, we've been doing this, what, a couple, 3 years?
3 years.
3 years, yeah. And I know when we started out, we were having a tough time getting people to report and do stuff. And this is probably the most positive I've heard you in those 3 meetings. So congratulations on that. It sounds like you feel good about the progress. Always more work to do, right? It's going to be a never ending, but at least you're comfortable with the processes and you're getting good feedback and we're getting some educational opportunities in the schools.
Yes, absolutely. And
Okay.
yeah,
Excellent. Great job.
thank you. I
Thank you.
appreciate that.
You bet.
Beautiful.
Good job, Kelsey.
Thank you.
Anything else, anybody? Okay, going to move down to M1, new business, board policy, GCPA layoff recall licensed staff. Susie, you're going to kind of talk to us about that a little bit?
Yes, so, Chris does many things, and one of them is following OSBA and school board policy. And board policy GCPA and GCPA-AR are not needed because our other districts around aren't using them anymore as school board policies because it's in collective bargaining agreements and in our budget process. And so we don't need them as a school board policy because they are in both our CBAs and our budgeting process. And so we don't need to have the school board policy that we've had in the past. We don't need it in the future. Questions?
A procedure one for Chris. Do we need to do 2 separate motions or can we do them together?
You only need to do it for the policy because you don't approve the
Yeah, we don't approve the ARs. Okay, that's what I thought, and I was just going to clarify. So we need a motion on M1.
I move to approve the deletion of GCPA layoff/recall licensed staff as presented.
A second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
I believe next is N1, this is for informational things, artificial intelligence, and Mr. Schmidt.
Yes, earlier in the school year, we presented and you approved policy regarding artificial intelligence and the use of AI in our schools, with some general guidelines, most notably being that staff and students are only permitted to use approved AI tools that have been approved by the district. Since that point in time, we developed an administrative rule around the use of artificial intelligence in classrooms that includes guidance for us as a district, some definitions, what AI use looks like for staff and students in the district. And this AI provides some guidelines around what staff will do, what students will do, and what administrators shall do when using AI in schools. We'll be working on some professional development opportunities and presentations for our principals this summer so they can present this along with some tool use for teachers in classrooms with students this coming fall. And we just wanted to make sure that you were aware that we had some guidelines in place for AI use in classrooms and with staff.
Thank you.
You bet.
I think we're moving on to the time you've all been waiting for, which is public comment. So I've got a little information to read here. Commenters may offer objective criticism of district operations and programs, but the board will not hear complaints criticizing specific student groups or individual district staff members. Complaints will be handled following the steps outlined in Board Policy KL and Administrative Regulation KL-AR1, copies of which are available at the table outside the conference rooms. Commenters should treat the meeting with respect and follow policies ACB, all students belong, and AC, non-discrimination. These policies protect students, employees, and visitors with an environment free from discrimination, harassment, or bias incidents based on perceived race, color, religion, gender identity, sexual orientation, disability, or national origin. Your comment should be directed to the board. The board may engage with the commenter by asking follow-up questions. The board chair will refer questions or requests for action to the superintendent for response or follow-up at a later date. Each commenter will have 3 minutes to provide public comment. Comments should be brief and concise. When your name is called, please come up to the podium and state the following: your name, if you reside within the district or work for the district, affiliation with the district, student, parent, staff member, community member, or community organization. Okay, we have 6 people. We typically have set aside 15 minutes, but that would mean somebody to be left out. So with board permission, I would like to go ahead and give each 6 people their 3 minutes because it's close, and we're looking at adjusting that time. I would ask that you, if you have an opportunity to be brief, that would be wonderful, and not use the full 3 minutes because we are at 9:30 and we'd all like to get home before too awful late. So with that being said, first person up is Gabrielle.
I'll be reading you a bedtime story tonight. Gabrielle Resch McNally. I am a parent of a North Albany elementary schooler, and I'm here reading a letter from the parents, over 100 parents who signed a letter from the North Albany Elementary School. Thank you for hearing from us. We're writing as concerned parents and students regarding a reduction of 2.5 teaching positions and the resulting impact on children, teachers, and our community. Staffing cuts will lead to class sizes approaching or exceeding 30 students before new students even enroll, as well as the creation of blended classrooms in both the primary and intermediate grades. And we find this deeply troubling. Historically, our school has a strong retention rate and ability to attract students, with our enrollment consistently growing as students progress through the grades. Smaller class sizes at NAES in the early grades have been a cornerstone of student success. Decades of educational research demonstrate that early literacy development is most effective in smaller, consistent classroom environments. Studies have found that smaller class sizes are also associated with stronger teacher-student relationships, improved classroom climate, and better social emotional outcomes. In a state currently struggling with mental health issues and with a governor who has prioritized mental health outcomes, larger classes will not only hinder social emotional development, but are a step in the wrong direction in supporting long-term positive mental health outcomes for our children. These changes would also conflict with efforts already being undertaken within some Oregon schools. In Salem, they're actively trying to reduce blended classrooms, specifically so teachers can focus on teaching primary students to read in their earliest years, noting that combining grade levels makes this work significantly harder and carries real educational costs. I'm going to skip ahead on some of my letter because I don't have that much time. We want to note that at the May 18th, 2026 board meeting, Superintendent Gardner stated that the budget was not yet finalized and that changes could still be made. I know there was a vote on it this evening, but we're quite concerned that we're going to be exceeding these large student sizes, and the district has committed through Article 19A4 that they will do at least one of the following, so the size of each class is below the threshold or an additional employee will be added to the classroom. And two of the ways that we identified that are if there are additional classified support hours or if we add in blended classrooms. So we're asking you all, are we to understand that classrooms, particularly our 4th grade, 4-5 blends, and the 5th grade would need to reach 35 students or more before the district would even consider allocating additional certified staff. This approach is not only unreasonable, but it's detrimental to students as well as our educators. North Albany Elementary is a school that is working. The data reflects strong student progress and achievement. Our children deserve classrooms where they are seen, supported, and given the opportunity to thrive, not environments where they're overcrowded and overlooked. So we ask that you invest in what's already proven to work by restoring these teaching positions now. Thank you. And I have all the signatures if you would like to see them. So.
Next, we have Janine.
Thank you. My name is Janine Toplane. I am a teacher with the Greater Albany Public Schools. I teach at North Albany Elementary School. I am a 3rd grade teacher, and I actually do have a bedtime story for you. This is the oak that showed the world. In the center of a small, proud town stood a great oak tree. It was not just any tree. Its branches stretched wide, offering shade to children at play, a resting place for birds, and a symbol of the town's strength to all who passed by. Travelers would stop, look up at its full green canopy, and say, "What a thriving place this must be." The people of the town beamed with pride. "Look at our tree," they would say. "It shows the world how good our community is." Over time, however, the town began to change. Some people noticed the tree dropped leaves in the fall. Others said its roots pushed up the ground. A few complained that caring for it took time and effort. So little by little, they began to take from it. One group trimmed more branches than needed, leaving jagged cuts that struggled to heal. Another cut into the roots to make room for something new, slicing deeper than they realized. Others said, "The tree is strong, it will be fine," and gave less water, less care, less attention. At first, nothing seemed wrong. The tree still stood tall. Its leaves still shimmered in the sunlight, and the town continued to point to it with pride. But beneath the surface, the strain was growing. The roots, once deep and steady, began to weaken under the pressure. The soil grew dry and compacted. The tree strained to hold itself upright against the winds it once resisted with ease. Seasons passed, the leaves grew thinner, the shade grew patchy, the branches creaked under their own weight, the birds began to leave. The people looked up and wondered, why isn't our tree as beautiful as it once was? Why doesn't it show the world who we are anymore? They gathered beneath it, confused and concerned. And an old gardener stepped forward and placed a hand on the ground near the trunk. "You are looking at the top," she said gently, "but the life of this tree begins at the bottom." And she brushed away the soil to reveal damaged, weakened roots, cracked, strained, and struggling to hold on. "You have been taking from what you cannot see," she continued, "and expecting what you can see to remain unchanged." And the townspeople fell silent. They began to understand. The tree had not failed them. They had burdened it beyond what they could bear. So they set to work. They stopped cutting it at the roots. They loosened the hardened soil. They gave water, care, and patience. And slowly, so slowly, it was almost unnoticeable at first, the leaves returned. The branches filled out, and the birds came back. In time, travelers once again stopped and said, "What a thriving place this must be." And this time, the townspeople did not just point to the tree, they cared for it. The moral: if an entity does not support and nourish what lies at its roots, elementary education with small class sizes and reasonable caseloads, it cannot expect to flourish where the world can see test scores, graduation rates, teacher retention, population retention.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is JD.
JD Wright. I come to you today not only as a mother of a student at South Shore, but also as a teacher there, a coworker, and a friend. Last month, 3 of us were skipped during public comment, not because we didn't sign up in time, but because there was only 15 minutes allotted to hear from the very community you represent. I'll be honest, I was angry. I still am. But I believe deeply in what I teach my students every day. Lead with kindness and stand up for those who are not being heard or treated fairly. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm standing up for my students, my colleagues, and my family. In my classroom, we talk about responsibility a lot, about how we cannot stand by while others are suffering, and how I didn't know is not an acceptable excuse when harm is happening around us. At the last board meeting, you asked important questions about PCBs, and you received no real answers. A no comment doesn't just avoid the issue, it creates distrust and leaves this community without a clear path forward. So today, I'm not just here with concerns, I'm here with a solution. Let's come together to fully understand this problem so we can fix it together. I didn't know what PCBs were before November, but I learned because someone I care about is now sick from exposure. My own son may be affected as well. And the hardest truth is this: we don't know how many others may be suffering in silence. That is not acceptable. We now have notice that the state has approved funding, yet the focus appears to be only on air testing. That is a step, but it is not enough. We need thorough, transparent testing conducted by qualified professionals so we can be certain we are not putting our children at risk. And not just at South Shore, but in any aging school building. So I'm asking this board to take immediate, meaningful action, hold a public town hall, bring in experts, involve families, staff, and the community. Give us clear information, honest answers, and a plan we can trust. Because this is about safety, it's about trust, and it's about doing right by our children. If we know that there is a risk and choose not to act, then we are choosing that risk for our children, and that is a choice we cannot afford to make. And finally, blended classrooms. At a bilingual school, we already divide time between 2 languages. There is simply not enough time to also divide it between 2 grade levels. Our curriculum is not designed for this, and our students will pay the price. You've said that you care about our students. Please prove that by putting them first in your decisions. These models are not sustainable for students or for our teachers. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Steve.
Next up is Taylor.
Good evening. My name is Taylor Fullerton, and I'm speaking to you today as a concerned parent of an incoming kindergartner. I do reside in the district. My largest concern presently is the drastic cuts to positions within the schools. Most specifically, a single school counselor should not have to hop between schools every week, splitting their focus and energy. 1 counselor in a school is already low. No school should be without that single counselor multiple days in a week. Our children deserve their names, faces, struggles, and successes deeply known by the adults employed to support them in their most vulnerable moments. Our counselors deserve a school to call home and a manageable caseload. They deserve adequate time to sit with their students in the lows, brainstorm and implement strategies, monitor effectiveness, and have the energy and time to celebrate the little and big wins with those same kids. I would love to discuss additional cuts taking place in further detail, but this information has not been displayed nor shared in an easily accessible or straightforward manner, specifically for busy parents. To do with their concerns. I think it's crucial to keep open communication, transparency, and dialogue during these major impacts and decisions being made on behalf of vulnerable children, as this impacts their experience within a school system, their safety and well-being, and of course their education quality. Thank you to the Greater Albany Education Association for bringing this important matter to my attention, and to the countless parents I spoke with to gain a fuller picture of the concerns we share. And Kelsey, thank you for also speaking with all of those parents. I hear the exact same wording in what your presentation had stated. And then thank you all for your time and consideration. My final thought that I will leave you with this evening is that no single job or career should be taken from an individual or the students they serve until high-level admin has reduced their astronomical salaries. Thank you.
Liz, you're up.
Liz Craig, GA ACE President. Thanks so much for allowing extra time. I will try to be very quick. I believe we're waiting for dates from you guys on bargaining for PCBs, unless that's changed in the last 2 weeks.
Brian is going to reach out tomorrow to Noah. He had not done so.
Okay, yeah, I think we've been waiting a couple weeks for dates, so glad to know that's rocking and rolling. The next thing is I spoke a little bit at the listening session, and a couple of you board members weren't there, so you didn't get to hear the spiel about how our classified folks, many of which, the majority of them, are below poverty rate and salary. Many work second jobs, many have side hustles. We have some who can just use this as extra money. A lot of people think that classified folks are just like moms who need something else to do. That is absolutely not true. It is a profession. We are professionals. So in the cuts, obviously that means we're going to be carrying bigger, higher loads. We will do that for our kids. There are many people who were cut 30 minutes because our current contract allows that. That equates to a 6 to 7% wage loss for our classified. So the lowest folks, who are often below poverty line, had major percentage cuts to their 9-month salaries in particular. And I still can't see any evidence of where any management took any furlough days or any decrease or anything. So I would love for the whole board to look into that. Andy said he already would, so we would love some feedback on that. With that, thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Liz. And last, Megan is up.
Hi, I'm Megan. I am a parent at North Albany Elementary, and I do live in the district. And since we're required to speak so quickly, I hope for fast answers because I brought questions. We can talk about the district level of concerns that obviously a lot of us have, but I'm speaking in regards to NAE specifically. What enrollment numbers triggered the decision to blend grades? Because you've heard from a few different statements that that can be detrimental to our students' learning. Again, quick answers, please.
You're asking the board, and that's an operational question, and we don't deal with class sizes directly.
Right, but you deal with enrollment numbers, correct?
No,
Okay, then,
we don't do operations.
The class size numbers are dictated by the contract. We don't have any input on the contract besides voting for it or not for it.
okay, well then does the board decide any other issues that have been raised with, how many minutes direct teacher instruction will be given to each grade, or how these blended classrooms need specialized training, or the percentage of instructional time that will rely on digital learning platforms? Because all of these have been detrimental to our schools for a very long time, longer than we've faced, not high enough birth rates or budget cuts or anything that you guys have talked about in the history of our enrollment and our budget. So do we just decide these things and not take into account the effect it has on the students?
Unfortunately, we're in operational territory again, and it's not a policy matter, and what's typically what the board does.
Okay, then as a board, if student achievement continues to decline, how do you plan to address it? Because there are many schools in our district that already have blended classrooms, and do you know what they rely on? While 4th grade is being instructed by the teacher, then 5th grade is stuck on Chromebooks. And it's been proven, even if you want to talk about outside of our country, in Sweden in 2009, how that has detrimentally screwed the system for their students' graduation rates, for their ability to write and read. We're already in this problem of having our teachers rely on computers instead of face-to-face interaction or being able to commit to these children who are already struggling at such a young age with mental health crises, as you heard from the dear officer. I don't want to just yell at you guys. I really would like some form of reassurance that our kids aren't screwed in the long term, because I have some great data too that I know Andy brought up earlier, but that kind of counteracts that point.
I would accept that if you want to hand it to me.
Oh, absolutely.
Does anybody have any questions for her?
These are our test scores for the
we're-
last since
That was the last
2017,
speaker,
and
so
these are
we're about
two
to adjourn. If you had any questions or anything you wanted to talk about.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate your passion, sincerely. And I have personal beliefs, but I'd have to share those with you after if you want to talk about screen time and whatnot. But it's not a board issue.
All right, thank
All
you.
right, you betcha.
Yeah, thank you for these.
Thank you.
Okay, I believe we're at that magic time where if we get the right motion, we can go home.
I move we adjourn.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Meeting's adjourned. 10:46.